Hello guys, Justin with Fuel and Firepower. Today we're back out here doing another head-to-head. So I've been wanting to do this one for a while, ever since I heard that the Crosman Vapormax was even coming out. I knew that I wanted to test it against one of my favorite rifles, the Umarex APX NXG. The reason being, both of them are pumpers, both of them are multi-shot, kind of fits the bill. Now, we know that the Vapormax puts out a little bit more power, but power isn't everything, especially not in this head-to-head challenge. So some things we're going to go over today. First, we're going to check trigger pull. See what the trigger is on both of them. See which one we might like a little better. Lightest doesn't always equal the best, but it does help. We're also going to be running them over the chronograph. We're going to be doing that to test consistency, which one has less deviation in between. And we also are going to be doing an accuracy test. We'll do a 5-shot group with each at about 25 yards with these, and we'll be getting an average. So some things I want to tell you. I did go ahead and put a scope on the Vapormax. Now this is the scope that came on my Crosman Vantage Plus. So it is a Crosman branded scope that I did put on here. Up here I upgraded the scope from the one that it came with up to the one I took off my Umarex Complete. So they're both 4x32 scopes. I felt like that should be pretty even. I'm going to have to sight this one in because I just put it up on there. But I figured for this test to stretch them out this far, having an even scope on them would be better for the test. Now, one thing about these, it's a little different from the other. We're also going to be talking about the mags and how we like them. I know at the end we talk over just overall fit and feel and what we like and dislike about them. But where these are both rotary mags, we will compare those and talk about them. So let's get started. First, we're going to start with the trigger pull. All right, first we're going to start with the Umarex. Good thing about these is you don't have to pump them before you check trigger pull. All right, first trigger pull. 4 pounds, 3.2 ounces. Second trigger pull. 4 pounds, 10.2 ounces. Third and final. 5 pounds, 0.5 ounces. And that's going to give us an average. Is an average of 4 pounds, 10 ounces. All right, let's move to the Crosman. Same with this one. You don't have to pump it to check trigger pull. Pretty sure this one's quite a bit lighter than that one. 4 pounds, 6.7 ounce. Second trigger pull. 4 pounds, 14.1 ounce. Third and final. 4 pounds, 12.2. That gives us an average of 4 pound and 11 ounce. So there's that. 4.10 and a 4.11. So there's the trigger pull. So now let's run them over the chronograph. We're going to get out here where we got a little more light. We're going to run 3 of each at 2, 5, and 10 pumps. We'll collect them. We'll figure up an average and see how much deviation they have. We're using the Meister Cugans and an 8.2 grain. All right, guys. First, we're going to start out with the NXG. I'm going to run it 2, 5, and 10 pumps, 3 each. Let's get started. All right, guys. Next is the Crosman Vapormax. I'm gonna get you turned around and we'll get started. I took a couple shots, got it sighted in close enough. So we're gonna take 5 shots at the upper left. We're going to do 5 pumps on each of these because that's what I've done in the past and they're very consistent there. Final shot. As you can tell, the wind has picked up just a tad. Yeah, we'll try to wait for this. We'll try to wait for this wind gust to blow by. I pulled on that one just a tad. All right, let's move over to the Vapormax. All right, so we're going to be shooting at top right this time. Listen, I don't know what happened there, guys. We got a flyer in that one. Don't quite know why. Wind wasn't blowing when I shot, especially not gusting bad enough to do that at your 25-yard range. Let's do one more. Well, that's what I expect out of it. So we've got everything together here. I'm gonna go down there and grab the target. I'm gonna figure out these totals and the deviation. We'll get back over here and we'll talk about it. All right, guys, there you go. Looking back over what we found here. The trigger pull on these two are very close. This one was 4 pound 10 ounce, 4 pound 11 ounce. Both feel good. They're crisp. They're a tad bit heavier than what I like. As far as a plinking rifle, they're fine. If I had to choose a winner, I guess I'm gonna go NXG. We'll take the trigger pull test. As far as velocity, I'm gonna take a picture of this and post it up here because my boy was recording this for me, and I can barely read his writing, but I'm gonna post it up here so you can see it. The NXG, you see the two shots there, 346, 339, 325 with an average of 336 feet per second at 2 pumps with a deviation of 21. So that was really high for a deviation, really, really high. Not a fan of that. 5 pumps, 504, 504, and 508 with an average of 505 and a deviation of only 4. The 10 pumps, 627, 625, 629 with an average of 627 feet per second and a deviation of 4 there as well. So pretty impressed with that. The 2, I don't even think this one's, they don't even advertise this one at 2 really. I believe it starts at 3, but where this one was at 2, I just kind of did it to be a little more even. I already knew this one was going to be so much more powerful than that one, so I just did that for reference. So on to the Vapormax. So with 2 pumps, 477, 476, 468. 473 feet per second total with a deviation of 9. On 5 pumps, you had 684, 678, 678 again for an average of 680 with a standard deviation of 6 in between those. On 10 pumps, we did 864, 867, and 853 with an 861 feet per second average and a deviation of 14. So one thing to consider, and it doesn't really have anything to do with this test as far as any of the tests that we're talking about, is that this thing at 10 pumps ain't as powerful as this thing at 5 pumps. So if you're looking for just power, there's a clear choice there. The deviation between both of them as a total both equaled 29. I'm going to say velocity, just for pure consistency, I'm going to give it to the NXG as well. I feel like it's more consistent overall. Now let's look at the accuracy test. I did take 6 shots with this guy because I had a flyer with one of them. We have those from time to time. It's usually not the rifle spot, it's usually the skirt or something like that. So I shot 6 there and I shot 5 over here, so I'm going to get you over here so we can look at it. So over here's the NXG, so let's take a look at it. We always try to start on 1 right in the center of that hole out here to our furthest hole, and we're about 1 1/8 group right there. If we take out the one that I pulled on, you look at it there, it tore it out pretty good. All 4 of those did. But here's what we got today. And that equals out to what? A 5/8 group right there. There's that one. Now if we come over here, and we start over here at this one. Looks like you got 1 1/4 group. If you count that one over here, you're at 2 1/8. If we wouldn't have had them two, it would have been a pretty good group. I'm going to say from there to there, and you'll have about a 5/8 group too. So realistically, the NXG is going to win this one because it did better today. But if you count out that one flyer there and these 2 flyers here, they both did the same. But that ain't how these tests work. Guys, there we go. So what do we think? So I think the NXG basically just inched it out about everywhere. But let's talk over a few things that I definitely like over top of this NXG. So the mag system. The mag setup on this Crosman is so much better than this style on this Umarex. Now Umarex does have some nice mags and a few of their other ones, but this one ain't it. So you've got to rotate this whole thing around, and it's like a clock spring in here, and you clip it all the way around, and you load your first one, and you got to go back and load them all, and then you lock it back in place and it rotates as you shoot. I don't care much for that. I really don't. This one here, it's just a simple, you load one at a time. It has an O-ring in there that holds them all. It works really well. It's very visible what number you're on. Tells you when you're out. Both of them are last shot hold open, so I do like that about both of them. But if we're looking at mag setup, mag system, Vapormax takes that one easy. Also, this one is a self-setting safety. I do not like that. I've never have, I never will. It's just one more thing to remember to do every time. I'm just not a fan of it. I prefer this crossbolt safety that the Crosman uses. It's much more like my actual rifles that I shoot, and I just prefer that better. Cocking mechanism is about the same on each. The pumping mechanism, where this one doesn't build as much pressure, it is absolutely easier to pump. And this one, it's kind of a far pumping lever just to make everything work, and you got to have that leverage to get up to the pressure that you're putting out. Pumping mechanism, I like the NXG better. Sights, if you're looking just at open sights on these things, they're about identical. They both have the fiber optic front and then just the regular standard blade style in the rear with a adjustable elevation and windage. The NXG, I kind of like how it's set up in the front a little bit better, and that might be a little preference, but I just kind of like how easy it is to aim open sights on this one. Guys, we went over quite a bit here. I feel like I've gave you all a good representation of both, and again, I hope I gave you some things to think about when you go and buy one for yourself. Today, I think that the APX NXG kind of outclassed this one as far as just overall consistency and performance. I don't like everything about this one over this one. The test we done today, it came out victorious. Something else to think about. The velocity of this Vapormax is hard to beat, so keep that in mind. There's an absolute difference in price point between these two as well. So when you jump up from this one to this one for that velocity, you also do jump up quite a bit in price. This one down here comes with just a little simple scope by itself there. Nothing fancy. This one just comes with your basic open sights, but they both have the 11mm dovetail rail up top where you can mount whatever you want. Alright guys, there you go. We have a clear winner today, the NXG. Hope y'all got something out of this, and I hope before you spend your own hard-earned money that you can take a look at this video and decide which one of these might be best for you if you're drawn between the two. That's it for this video. Don't forget to go check me out on TikTok and Instagram. I want to thank y'all for watching, and we'll catch you next time.